It's Chelsea,
It's Nina,
and
and
you're
you're
in
in
the
the
Critics'
Critics
Kingdom.
Kingdom. Hello, and welcome to another week on the Critics Kingdom.
Yes, yes, yes. This week we're doing a newer one than we've done,
A more recent of the decom
of the
situation.
DComs. Yes, as part of our Zendaya Suite, um, we are doing Frenemies.
And this was released in 2012. Okay, I was gonna say it stars Zendaya and Bella Thorne, but that's a complicated statement. You will understand why once we get into the recap of the film. Is also why we both consider all of the surface things of this film quite misleading. But yeah, it stars Bella Thorne and Zendaya. I think sort of coming off of the success that they had with their TV show Shake It Up,
Yeah.
right, where they play like
Mm-hmm.
dancers. I did not watch that show as I was, like I was way too old at that point. I think it was 2010. I was in college, so yeah, did not watch any of this stuff. And this was, I think, both of our first times watching this particular film.
Yep, same here. Yeah, it started in 2010. We were not watching Disney at that point, so we did not see Shake It Up. Though I did hear it was a fun show. Um,
Yeah, it's got like dancers. Like that has to be a good time
Yeah. Yeah,
to
they were
agree.
like backup dancers at some at like a local Chicago TV show, I think was like the premise. Um so yeah, that does sound like a very fun premise for a kid show.
So I guess with that, should we just dive right on into the recap?
Yes. So this starts off by us hearing Zendaya and Bella talking and showing us photos of their webzine called Geekly Chic and saying that they're best friends for forever. And, Zendaya is playing Hallie and Bella is playing Avalon. And they're both these 14-year-old girls who Avalon is very interested in fashion and Hallie is very interested in journalism and like writing articles and being a writer. So it's perfect because you get a good meld between the two of them. But they talk about how there was a point in their friendship where they became frenemies, and it almost tore them apart forever. From there, we actually go into just so you guys know, because we did not realize this, and we'll talk about this more in the review. But this is actually an anthology movie, and there's three different stories. So we go from learning that they almost broke up as friends to Jake. Jake is a young, really smart boy, really good at science. He actually got an award from NASA for second place for a science competition that he entered. And he just lives with his mom and his dog Murray, who's his best friend, and wakes him up every morning, and like they get along perfectly. So Jake and his dog are constantly, like going out to the park, and they're around each other all the time. Like when I say best friend, they are best friends. And Julianne, who is the popular girl at their school, one day is like, "Oh, Jake, I'm really interested in you. Like we should date or like hang out. Like I'd love to work on our science projects together." And he's like freaking out because he's like, "Oh my God, the popular girl talked to me." So he's like, "Yeah, of course." So he takes her to the park and they start working on their project together. And while he's actually doing the project and playing around with Murray, and he's expecting her to be reading like Scientific Today magazine, she's actually reading the equivalent of like 17, and learning about like what's new in fashion. So she does not really care. And while they're at the dog park playing with Murray and doing the project, Savannah, who is another girl that goes to their schools, but who's a bit more, into like skating and loves dogs and that whole thing, she actually finds Murray because Julianne, in an effort to get rid of Murray because she finds him annoying, throws the tennis ball super far one time. Savannah sees Murray, catches him, and like, starts playing with him. And Jake is like, "Oh wow, you guys get along great." And she's like, "Oh yeah." And Murray absolutely hates Julianne. Like he just does not get good vibes. So there's a stark difference between her and Savannah. And Savannah, you can tell, has a huge crush on Jake, but she never like says it. So Jake just like, of course, walks around oblivious because 14-year-old boy. And he's just trying to get Julianne's attention still. And the next day, Savannah is like walking past the popular girls at school, and she overhears Julianne like on the phone saying, like, yeah, well, I'm just using Jake because I just need to get a good grade on my science project. And she later sees her throughout the day with other guys for like history and for math. And basically, she says the same thing she says to Jake, which is like, let's like date, and I want to be your girlfriend, and like you can help me out with my whatever subject this is, homework. So she basically has all these men doing her work. And to do that, she dates, quote unquote, is dating them or is their girlfriend. Savannah hears this and is like, oh, I don't know what to do though, because me and Jake aren't that close. So, she just kind of tucks it away for the moment. And when Jake decides he wants to get Julianne's attention even more, he's like, oh, I need to like get a fly outfit. So he gets like what was popular in 2012, which was like a scarf for men. And he puts that on, and Avalon and Hallie come by, and they're like, oh no, that is not it. Like, we got to change you up. And so they like, give him like a quick little makeover and take pictures of the before and after. And they're like, oh, this is going on Geekly Chic. And they leave. And he then like learns from Savannah that actually Julianne's been lying to him this entire time and has like 3 boyfriends, and like she just uses this so she can get homework out of these smart boys. And he stands up to her and is like, you're not going to use me anymore. I'm refusing to turn in our project. I'm actually going to just destroy it. So he then like throws it out, and somehow Murray comes in and like pees on it into the school. This is in the school, by the way. So yeah, take that as you will. And we go from that story into actually finding out what happened with our girls in Geekly Chic and why they almost became frenemies. And so Avalon and Haley start this magazine called Geekly Chic. They get scouted by Burns Publications and have a meeting with the editor, Cherie St. Clair, which is, obviously a Anna Wintour copy. And she was like, oh, well, I actually only wanted to speak with Hallie because she's supposed to be the editor-in-chief of your little webzine. And we want to pick it up because we need to like have better things that are for teenage girls. So she's like, you guys need to battle it out to figure out who's going to be the editor. Whoever gives me the better article is going to be the editor in chief. So then this, of course, splits apart Avalon and Hallie. And Hallie is sitting there one day and is like reading, the news, and is like, oh my gosh, our favorite like French singer, Jean Frank, is going to be coming here in like 3 weeks. Like, we should do an article on him. And since Avalon is the one who was like, oh my God, that'd be great for an article, she suddenly is like, well, that's my idea, which doesn't make any sense. So then they're both like, well, now we got to duke it out to see who's going to be able to get the interview. So you see them go through like, some trials and tribulations. They both lie, and they're both like, who's going to actually be able to interview Jean Frank when he gets here. They finally get to the day of the concert, and they both lie and cheat their way to get into his back room so they can interview him.
I think Zendaya climbs through a window in the end.
Yes, with Hallie being Zendaya climbing through a window and Bella Thorne coming through the regular way. But technically under Hallie's name. So she's asking the questions, but she's asking him like fashion stuff. Avalon is not like actual substantive things that he would care more about, which is what Hallie was going to ask him. But she stole Hallie's questions somehow or something. And once Hallie finally gets in there, then she starts asking her questions. She's like, you stole my questions. They have a whole thing. They duke it out. And Jean Frank ends up being like, so yeah, I'm actually American, and nobody in America wanted to listen to my stuff, so I just pretended to be French so people in France would listen to me, and now I'm famous in America again. So everything I've been like telling you is a lie, essentially. And they're like, oh my God, you have to be yourself, like blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. My name is actually John Frankuski. And I'm just going to go around like that. So they end up both writing an article, after having that conversation, and basically, tell his story to the world. And they give it to Cherie St. Clair. And she's like, both of you are actually immature because you only wrote me one article and I said one each. So I'm firing both of you. And they're, saddened at the moment, but they're like, at least our friendship is still together. And then this TV show, Teen News, picks it up. Teens Now, picks it up and like shares information about their web scene existing to more teens all over the country or whatever. So then they're super happy. That's the end of that like story. Then we go into Savannah and Emma. Savannah, you will remember, was like the skater girl, that was like had a crush on Jake in the first story. So we go on her. We find out it's actually her. She has a single father and three brothers, and she lives a very like tomboy lifestyle, I would say, and with a bunch of guys constantly in her house. And she doesn't really have any personal space, and she's just like she kind of hates it.
They don't feed her either. Like,
Yeah, which is really
constantly,
weird.
like she has to fight for food.
She has to
And
fight
but
for food every night.
that's inappropriate. That's not okay.
She does. She does have to fight for food every night. And she goes to the mall because her dad's like, you know what? You need a break. Like, you're the only woman in this house. And, like, here's like $20. Go and buy yourself some shoes. And so she goes
also not enough to
she
buy
goes to the mall and sees like this there's another girl who comes in named Emma who goes to like the super preppy Liggett Prep, which is like the super rich private school that's also in their town. While she's there, she runs into Hallie and Avalon, and they're like, oh my god, you two are like twins, you're doppelgangers. You need to do a little switcheroo because you're both clearly unhappy in your lives. And Emma and Savannah are like, you know what? That makes sense. And so they change clothes in the bathroom at the mall, and they both go to live as each other. So Savannah living as Emma is like, wow, your life must be great because you're this super wealthy person and you're an only child. And she soon learns that like Emma's life is crazy regimented and her parents expect so much from her all the time. And she also has this horrible boyfriend named Lance who's only obsessed with himself, and how she like makes him come off because they've been betrothed since they were 8, which is creepy. And so she hates it because she's like, I have to be up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday and I just want to go to my like birthday ball and like I don't care about all this. Meanwhile, Emma as Savannah is like, I don't like all this freedom and your brothers are crazy and I can't eat when I'm at your house because your family is legitimately crazy. And she hates it. And she also doesn't know how to use a skateboard, which is like Savannah's only way around because her parents obviously don't let her, her dad doesn't let her have a car. We don't know if she's even old enough for that. So yeah, so she's like, we need to switch back. Like, I'm unhappy right now. But while Emma is with like playing Savannah, she does realize that Savannah has a crush on Jake, and she tells Jake like, we need to go out. And Jake is like, oh, okay, I didn't even know you liked me. And so they start dating, and what ends up happening is they decide to switch at Emma's birthday ball, which is the following weekend. And they're like, all right, we need to switch back. Like, we're both equally unhappy. And then Savannah, as Emma, tells Emma, like the actual Emma, like, hey, I broke up with your boyfriend Lance because like he was annoying me and he only likes himself. And she's like, oh my god, I always wanted to do that, but I never had the courage. And she's like, well, Emma, I actually started dating Jake because I knew that you wanted to, and he seemed like a cool kid. And so Savannah's super happy about that. So then they like switch their gowns or whatever back, and they both go back into their respective like lives in the working class and the upper class. It was very Prince and the Pauper. But yes, so that is the end of Frenemies, the three stories.
And there's like a dance.
Yeah, it ends at the birthday ball. So they're like dancing at the end to
all of our characters.
Yes, all of our characters are dancing, and they're all, united at the end of the movie. And that is Frenemies.
Yeah, and we will be right back with the review.
Yes.
So for the review of this, not this is probably this is definitively the worst DCOM that we have watched so far.
It surpasses Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas, guys. Like,
by miles.
we thought that was the lowest we could go, but at least that had narrative, a plot, something you could follow. This, I don't know.
Chelsea's, your exact words, we were about 12 minutes into this film, which felt like 7 hours. And Chelsea's exact words were, this feels like an episode of Lost. Which is like, I really don't. I hope that this all makes sense in the end, but I really don't know how we're gonna get there. And we didn't get there. We just didn't get there. It just didn't happen. Also, sort of much like Lost. But yeah.
It just So I think it's important for us to say that we did not read the description of the movie before we started watching said movie, because we both don't normally do that with movies. We both like to go into things without really knowing beyond like a basic premise. And And even sometimes we don't have that. Like I remember the two of us walked into Annihilation just being like, sure.
Yeah.
Um, so
We literally just went to see
we
the
had no
movie. We
idea
had
what was
no
going on.
concept of what it was about. And we were like, oh wow, this is a
And then we loved it. We
ride.
loved it. But like I think we're both of the same because I know some people like that's chaotic, they hate that, but we both are the type of people that enjoy doing that. So just know that going into it. So we know we did not read the description where they do actually explain it's an anthology. So
But
we watched the first story and we were like, wait, isn't this Zendaya and Bella Thorne's film? Why has it been 20 minutes and we haven't seen this?
it was also like, in all fairness, like again, super misleading. The thumbnail for this movie on Disney Plus only shows two people, and they are Zendaya and Bella Thorne as Hallie and Avalon. That's it. And they're like doing like a friend like back to back pose.
Yes.
And like it's
Yes.
called Frenemies, and it opens with them talking about like it's literally Zendaya being like, this is gonna be the story of how we like almost stopped being friends and became frenemies. Also a gross misuse of that word. But like
Yeah.
how they became friends, and then there's a boy and his dog. And like you're just and you don't see them. You physically don't see them on the screen. No one references them. I was like, is this one of their like brothers? Like, is this like a friend? We were so like the movie is misleading. Like everything about the way it's packaged is very, very misleading. And there are children watching Disney Plus who can't read yet. So I don't think I don't think that we're to blame for not catching that sooner.
No.
Although we did get a tip off by the fact that it was a tip off to two things. It was a bit of a tip off, like so when we saw like a little bit into seeing Jake, we were like, oh, like maybe they're gonna do multiple stories, and maybe that's why like this movie had like the writers were split up by acts. And then, but at the same time, like when we saw 6 writers on the film, we were like, this is probably going to be bad because
that was legitimately what we said. Like I was like, oh no.
like this, it's a 90-minute movie. Like there's no reason for 6 people to have to write that. Like,
And I think it is important, obviously, to place it in the context, which was ensemble movies, anthology ensemble movies like this were very popular around this time. Like Valentine's Day, which was that big hit because of it had like everybody in it,
but that was also
including
bad.
Taylor Swift.
That was a bad film.
I'm not saying it was bad nor good. I just know that they got a lot of money out of it.
Fair enough.
So, but it was popular and like everybody was talking about it. That came out in like 2010. I want to say New Year's Eve came out around 2011, 2012 when this came. So that like type of movie was very popular at the time. So I could see somebody being like, we should make this, but for kids. And I do get that inclination. I actually think it could have been done, but it should have been done much better because the big issue we had here was that there was no consistent narrative. Like as bad as I remember Valentine's Day, and it was not a good movie, but you also knew that it was an anthology ensemble the whole time you were watching it because there was a consistent narrative. Like when people popped up in other people's stories, it was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
It did not make sense. When Avalon and Hallie popped up in the other 2 stories, it made no, like it was just like, why are you here? You're not adding anything.
Yeah.
Like,
and
like
it wasn't even like a
necessary.
And like the theme wasn't even like consistent enough because like in the last one they were never friends to begin with, you know, like
yeah.
So I don't, and they're like being enemies lasted for like 3, like it just didn't, as a story I was like, I don't understand what this has to do thematically with anything that's preceded it. And like
guys, it's
horrible.
It is, even if we had known, it would not have made this better.
It's also, all right, so this is based on a book, right? This movie is based on a book. The book doesn't do this. The book is about the story of Hallie and Avalon. So like, it's just like, I can't figure out who, like, it's a movie of bad decisions, but it's not the characters making bad decisions. It's the people that made the movie. It was just
Right.
a series of bad decisions by the people who were putting this thing together. Because I don't understand why, in adapting a book, you would just add two new, not even plot lines, just like universes. Like, you've just
That was
expanded the universe in a way that it didn't have to be.
Well, and the other thing is, I actually think for a kids movie, I would hate this with a like adult movie. And I want to say this is what they did with Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve, is you need to say at the top that you need somebody, especially in a child's movie, to be like, let's show you what's going on in Jones Middle School, or
Yeah,
like something like that to then lead into the story.
yeah,
Because there was nothing like that in here. And what I was telling Nina is, I was like, I honestly think this would have read better if they had at least like named it something other than Frenemies and made it instead something like Tales from Jones Middle School or like Live from 8th grade or what, like something that just like told you like I'm about to get a bunch of different stories from a
yeah,
bunch of ninth graders or 8th graders, whatever grade they're in,
yeah,
or from this one school. I think that would have been much more interesting. And then you could have made it like, oh, they pass each other by and some of them are friends. And like you could have, because then you also could have put in more stories. That
yeah.
was my other thing. I was like, why are we only doing three?
It could have been like
Um,
shorter vignettes, which would have been super cool, I think.
yeah, and I think kids would enjoy that as well. But you do need to straight up say like,
This is
"Hey,
what
I'm
this
Madison
is.
Avalon, or whatever, Hallie and Avalon, and like, we're kind of like we're the writers of the newspaper. Let's show you what goes down
Yeah,
at one week in Jones Middle School." Like something
exactly.
like that could have easily. You would have set the stage. Everybody knew what would have been happening, and you could have had them weave in and out in a way that made sense.
Yeah, it probably would have been very good if it had done that.
Yes.
And then on the flip side, it's like you also could have not, like, you could have just either like actually properly adapted the book, or like
Yeah.
you could have just stayed with them, because like this was a period of time, like this is a period of time when like you have shows like iCarly and like True Jackson VP, like you have shows that are about the early stage of what we now understand as influencers,
Right.
and like the role of teens in that space, and like how they created that space for themselves. And like it's not like it was unprecedented. Like Disney could, like, you could have made that film with these two girls and their fashion magazine. And it's like they literally reference Project Runway in this. It's like the peak of Project Runway. Like you could have made an actual like fashion decom. And it would have been probably would have been at least decent. It certainly would have been better than whatever this is. um, I can say that with full confidence. um, and also just generally speaking, sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen. You don't need 6 writers. I also don't understand how with 6 writers the dialogue was as bad as it was.
Oh my God, guys, it was so bad. It's just they also gave. I'm still very mad at whoever made Zendaya's hair choice in this. It was not good. It was like that awkward length that a lot of moms get instead of making it longer or shorter. I don't know if maybe it was like that was just how her hair, it was just her natural hair at the time, so it is what it is. But I was like, somebody should have styled it better or something. Like it just did not look good. Because I remember her hair on Shake It Up always looked nice. So I'm just like, what happened with this one?
They be playing games with Zendaya's hair though. Like I know, like I did watch Casey Undercover like recently, because I saw it on Disney Plus, and I was like, oh my goodness, this actually looks quite entertaining. It was like right after I finished rewatching That's So Raven.
Mm-hmm.
And like I will say, in the first season of Casey Undercover, they are playing games with that wig on that girl's hair.
Oh no.
So like I get, like, it's the thing, like they just don't know what to do with it. It seems, or like in the beginning they never know what to do with it until, which seems strange because she doesn't seem to have hair that is particularly difficult. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
no.
Like, I don't
She
see
has
why.
shown her natural hair. It is like maybe 3C. Sorry,
Like,
maybe 3B.
I mean, like I don't think that it should be this much of an issue, but like I have now seen on multiple occasions. But Disney also has a problem with this. Like Disney doesn't know how to do anybody's hair.
This is also true.
You don't remember Cameron Boyce's hot comb scenario?
Yeah,
The
God.
Descendants is just like, I don't even.
It's so weird. They never know how to do the biracial children's hair because Raven's hair always looked good except for
But
Cheetah Girl.
Raven probably didn't let them touch it. Raven was
That's what I'm
probably like,
saying.
I'm gonna do that. Like, I'm gonna get my
But I feel
person to
like
do
they
that.
left it alone on a lot of the like unambiguous black people's hair. But it was like for the biracial kids, they were just like, I don't know. I guess we just gotta figure out something. And I'm like, why are we doing?
It's uncalled for.
It was so uncalled for. Like what?
But yeah, so like I think that this is just another instance of that. Like Zendaya has, like, I feel for you, girl. Like they've been messing with you quite a bit
They
on
really messed with
that
her
show.
hair on this one. I was so mad the entire time watching it. I was like, they really did your hair like this. I'm mad for you. Like I'm so mad for you. Um, but yeah, no, it also, now that I'm thinking about the last storyline with Savannah and Emma and the Princess Popper thing, reimagining that they tried to do, they never resolved Savannah's key storyline. Like her family part never got resolved. Like we never saw her dad after he wouldn't let Emma feed herself at the table. So I'm just like, wait, so you just want to go back to fighting for your chicken every night? Like I don't.
I guess the idea is that she missed the company and like, yeah, the
There's just
freedom to
no
do,
character development on that
which is
side
no, there
though.
was no character development for anybody.
I know, but it just seemed particularly egregious on hers because at least we got to see Emma's parents when she rebelled to her degree. We don't see anything about Mr. Savannah's dad.
Ah. Oh Lord, it's the whole. By the time I was,
We,
I think you remember when the second part of it ended, right? Like once Hallie and Avalon were like, they did their thing and then they got their website and all of that. I was really excited for the movie to be done, and I was like, thank God. and then and then there was more. And I was just like, I don't literally why, like for what purpose? This doesn't.
exactly.
Or like you should have done this before we got. Like, why would you do? If it starts with the two, why wouldn't you end it with Hallie and Avalon? Like, why would you? It would have even made more sense if you had just done a full through line with like, okay, Savannah stops Jake from, you know, being trapped by this, I don't know, succubus, and and like she, him, and Murray are friends, cool, and then we get like and then like you would have built the film better if we got that little glimpse of Hallie and Avalon with him in the scarf, and then we went to like just straight that through line into Savannah's story, and we see Savannah do the switcheroo, and we see Hallie and Avalon like tell her to do the switcheroo, and you're building anticipation of like, ooh, Hallie and Avalon, they keep popping in and out. When are we gonna get their full story? And then we get Savannah's little situation there, and we see the culmination of like her and Jake, and like that's super cute, excellent. And then we go into we end the movie with the people that the movie's supposed to be about that we started with.
Exactly.
And we see them get success, and now their website's going to be like a big deal, and we can be like, oh, all of these stories now that they're like cataloging, the whole world's going to see it. Would have made thematic sense. Like I would have tracked that, but we got to the end of the movie, and then you added another part that was the Princess and the Pauper.
It was also
It was so
because
confusing.
there was no other reimaginings. I think if they had at least made every single anthology and a reimagining, you would have had something. I would have been like, okay, you got the Princess and the Pauper, maybe you did the Princess and the Pea or something, just something. I don't know. But like I'm like, at least then we could have been like, all right, so you basically just made an anthology series of reimaginings of fairy tales.
Which would have
Fine.
been cool, actually.
No, I know, it would have been very cool. But yeah, it's just that there was so much that could have been done, and instead it seems like you were only able to get Bella and Zendaya off of that Shake It Up set for about a week, and you were like, well, got to work around that.
And again, I just don't understand how, like, if you have 6 people writing something, and this is what happens, like,
I worry.
I worry about a lot of things. involved in the creation and production of this movie, but also those people's lives. Not just the writers, everybody involved.
I
Everybody.
will say there was at least a woman. It was directed by a woman, and I think two of the writers were women. So I guess like shout out to that. But
That's not.
I'm just saying, okay.
Zendaya's half black. Like that's not. That don't matter. It's still horrible.
They also never showed their parents. Like
They really don't. And like
they
I
literally only
actually
show
had a
some.
real
They show
issue.
everybody else's parents, but those two. They just show Zendaya's brother.
And I had a real issue with the fact that they had these two girls go into like New York to meet with, like, they're in Jersey, right? Like they go to New York to meet with this person that they've never met before by themselves. And that woman took that meeting. Like I was like, this is like a potentially dangerous lie to tell children. Like, don't do that. It's not, like, don't do that. It's like the opposite of what they did right in the Cheetah Girls. You know what I mean? Like, the opposite of that. Like, that's not. This doesn't make any sense. They're 13. What is they? Yeah. Yeah. It was just all around horrible.
Yeah.
And also, like, all the characters were like stereotypes.
Yeah. Everybody
like,
was a stereotype.
It was just deeply uninteresting, and we don't recommend anyone watch it.
Yeah, please don't. Save yourself that hour and 30 minutes, please. I beg of you.
We did it for you, you know? Like, don't watch it. It's unnecessary.
Don't bother with it. Go. All of them have gone, well, most of them have gone on to do better things. You can watch Zendaya in literally anything else. And, you know, the boy that plays Jake was in Love, Simon, which he was great. So, you know, just watch something else if you want to see them. Because this was not it.
Yeah.
In the least. And yeah, I guess with that, Nina, you know, would you show this one to your kids?
Never. No.
Tell me how you really feel.
Pass. They are not allowed to watch it. I feel like it's gonna be really funny. Like when, like, you know, like other people come over, whatever. Like there's gonna be a list of movies that are like banned in the house, right? And it's gonna be like the most unassuming, like most innocuous, like why can't they watch this film? And I'm just like, because it's a trash film. Because I don't think that there is anything of artistic value for them to get from this film, and therefore I would prefer that they not pollute their minds with it. There's going to be a whole list of movies like that. Yes, this will be on it. Is the point? This will be on that list.
Yeah. I agree. This would just definitely not be. Like, I feel like I would redirect my kids to either be like, watch Shake It Up or watch Casey Undercover.
Yeah.
You don't
There
need
are
to
better
watch
things you can
this.
watch with. Yeah, hell, watch Euphoria. There are better things you can watch.
Well, that depends on how old they are.
But I know, but that was the joke of it. I didn't deliver very well. But and I haven't seen that new. Is it a movie with Bella Thorne? Called Girl. It's on Hulu. I don't know.
I know she did have a movie come out this year, so it might be that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't watch it. I probably won't because like I read the thumbnail and it didn't.
She was on that popular Freeform show Infamous for like a year or two, I think. I heard it was good. I never watched it. Infamous, I think it's called.
I know nothing of it.
Okay. I just used to see the ads for it. But yeah, I think it's like all of these people are in much better other things. So this is just not the one to watch because nobody is even giving me like a great performance in this one. To be like, oh, well, you know, but this one's really shining. amidst the mess.
There's really no shining. Shine. There is no shine in this film.
There's no shine. It's all dull.
Oh my goodness.
Also, why was the first one focused on a dog and a boy? And I'm just like, am I watching Marley and Me?
How was I really don't understand how this dog was able to constantly get out of the house.
Yeah.
Like, does it open doors? Like, what's going on?
I think he was supposed to be considered a very smart dog, but I'm like, we're pushing it here.
Like, yeah.
Like, not even really Lassie was doing all that. Okay, when he saved that little boy from the well. Like,
A lot. Like there's a lot of suspension happening here, and
Like Sounder was fighting racism, and he was not doing all of that.
Facts. Let them know, Charles. How do you feel about showing this to your children?
Nah, I'm also on the no train with you on this one. There's just so much better things to watch. Disney could have gone a much more original direction with this, and they did not. Um, I just feel like everybody could have done better. I don't blame the talent at all, though, because I'm sure they were all in deals, with Disney, and like it is what it is. It's a great show for it's a great
Yeah,
exposure thing for you. So I get it. But yeah, no, this is not one of their better movies. I'll say
it's
that.
not even one of
The decent one.
it's like,
It's not.
oh Lord, it's just not. It's not. That's it.
Yeah. It's just not it. So I think with that, oh my God, you know what we didn't talk about? How they completely misused the word frenemy.
Well, I brought it up a little bit, but yes, no, that's wrong. That is not the definition of a frenemy. A frenemy is someone whose life, like someone who, for some odd reason, fate has decided is a fundamental part of your life that you cannot escape, right? But you despise that person, right? Like it's someone who is in your friend group, so you have to hang out with, but you hate them, and they hate you back. Like it is a mutual dislike, shared dislike between the two of you. But you're cordial to an extent because there are other people you have to think about. That is what a frenemy is. It's not your best friend. It's not when you and your best friend get into a fight. Like that's just not.
No, that's literally called a friend breakup, and it happens. But that's a completely different term. I remember I was like, why would you call this frenemies? The moment they used it, I was like, what does I really thought it was gonna be like her and Bella Thorne are fake friends.
Exactly.
That is what
and
a
I was
frenemy
super
is.
excited to watch them be rival popular girls in high school. That's what I thought was gonna happen, or middle school, however the hell old they are. I was like, this is exciting. I am here for this. This is gonna be fun because I know that both of these actresses can do this and do it well. And that is not what I got.
No, that is not what you got at all. They completely. I was like, who? This is not even the definition. I looked it up on Wikipedia. This is not even the definition, in the disambiguation of frenemy.
Lord.
Nobody uses it in this way. Everybody knows it means a fake friend that you have to put up with or deal
Exactly.
with because they're giving you something or you're giving them something or you're just in the same spaces together. What? I was like, who named this? But it must be somebody who is out of touch because there's no way.
Again, I'm telling you, a series of bad decisions.
Truly.
It's just all around bad choices. This is a great film and an example of what not to do. If anyone's an aspiring filmmaker, watch this and replicate nothing. It's how I
feel. Know how a bad film gets made.
Exactly.
I really wonder what that author thought of this.
Doesn't claim it. It's I had nothing to do with that. That's not don't. Please don't associate that with my work.
Yeah. So I think with that, guys, we are going to sign off for the week.
Go and rest after the atrocity of watching that film.
Because we don't want to become frenemies.
Exactly. And with that, we will catch you next week.
Yes. Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Critics Kingdom. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you can stay up to date, as well as interacting and letting us know what you guys think on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Critics Kingdom and on Instagram at The Critics Kingdom. We're excited to talk to you again next week.